So I want to start with Robert because he is the newest of the clan here. Robert, I want to welcome you first, and I thought what I would do is let you give a little bit on your background. What got you interested in Planet X, and then we'll get the other two guys in here with us.
Well, Michael, thank you for inviting me onto your show. I want to say you have a wonderful show. I've been listening to you for a while. Yeah, I do chime in. You have such great guests. I just can't help myself to want to call in and ask all kinds of questions. And I know you've been having a lot of problems with the phone lines, and I know you're getting that taken care of. But
the reason
I do that.
We are so close to having that taken care of. I have the new phone here. I have the device to hook the phone up to the system. Now all I've got to do is I've got to get out tomorrow and I've got to go buy a couple new wires that I need, and then we should be golden. But yeah, go ahead.
That's wonderful, and let me say to you, you are the boss man, as little Manny says. That's terrific. I love it.
Yeah, Manny's awesome. I mean, 2 years old. I mean, so how long has he been listening? Not longer than 2 years, right? So
no. Oh, yeah, exactly. Right. I've been listening just a little longer, but I think Manny's got it on me, man, because he's a bright little kid. I mean, think about this: the parents are allowing the little child to listen to truth.
Yeah.
Michael, I got to also tell you, I got to tell you this, man. I love that commercial you run just before you come back on air. Your promotional aspect for your show. I mean, you're just laying it into these moronic libtards. I'm sorry, but that's what they are. They have been so brainwashed. They don't have any clue or conception, or they're part of the system. I don't know, Michael, but it's just beyond belief. The ignorance of these people is beyond me, man.
I know.
Really, really, really is.
I know, and you know what? I am so thankful to God that I have lived to see the day when a real president stands up and just slaps the media around like the liars that they are. Wow. I mean, it's like I died one day. I got to pinch myself every now and then. It's amazing.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think it was today Trump called CNN the fake news once again.
Well, no, he renamed them now. Now they're the very, very fake news.
It's double fake.
Yeah, I don't know how much lower they could go. They're just about flea shit now.
Yeah. They're
Sorry,
finished
Manny.
in my eyes. People like yourself and my former self, you are the real media. Okay, this is what's the big transition is, and the dinosaur media they haven't gotten it yet. The blood is running out of their head, and it just hasn't finished trickling down.
Well, no,
they're getting ready to keel over, Michael.
You know what they are? They're like the kid. We've all seen them, right? One of these teenagers, they get caught in their mother's pocketbook. And even though their hand is in there and they've got the money in their hand, they're still in denial. No, I wasn't stealing it. Really,
it wasn't me.
I wasn't going to steal it. No, I mean, this is what the media is. They're hoping you'll go, oh, okay, and just play stupid like we have for so long. But fantastic,
yeah.
and so Robert, yeah, what got you interested in Planet X? We've got Dr. Rand is on the line and Peter Kling's on the line, and they'll be in here in just a minute with us. So I want to give you a chance to lay out your story. I mean, what drove you down the road of Planet X? A lot of people interested, but then there's some who just think it's all nonsense.
And I understand that as well, Michael. And I being in the position you were about almost 4 years ago, being a talk show host, I know how it is to be in that position. But what really changed for me is during my show when I first started. It was late 2010, early 2011. I, like everybody else, was trying to figure out what was going on, looking into 9/11 and free energy sources, and I just basically threw myself all in. And I was a business owner, Michael, in 2006, with my partner, and I really wasn't paying attention to anything. I was just trying to build a business. I was in the restaurant equipment business, and I was doing really well. And things were flourishing. In 2008, everything fell apart, and that's when I really started doing investigating and what was going on. I wasn't aware of what was happening. And just to say this, that I always believed in extraterrestrials. Okay, and even since I was a kid, I was fascinated with any documentary on space. I mean, hell, I watched the Carl Sagan the 10 parts or 11 part series, The Cosmos. I must have watched that 10, 20 times as a kid, Michael. So I was completely fascinated with it. But when everything started turning around for me is when the economy started collapsing. I started investigating what was going on, what was happening. And it got to the point where I realized that 9/11 was a complete fraud. And I think that was probably a big awakening point for many, many people, Michael. And of course, I was thrown into the mix with that, losing everything, losing my business, losing my house. I mean, I lost it all. I was just building at that point. I 2 years, Michael, 2.5 years. I had already built a $500,000 a year business, all gone, taken away in an instant.
So you were in
right?
that point of your life where you looked up and says, "Good, I hope Planet X is coming."
You know what? In a sense, I kind of felt that way about a couple of years ago. Yeah. I really did. But that was the anger of it all. And then I pushed that anger aside, and then I started really, really investigating, actually 2.5, 3 years ago. And I was doing a little investigating as I was doing the radio show, but the realization was, as people that have put all their own effort and research on the web, and it's all over the place. I mean, video after video, of course, Zachariah Sitchin, Dave Mead, so on and so forth, and I won't bring up Marshall Masters, I promise.
You. He's the only one. I mean, I'd if he would get in the conversation with us, I'd be happy to have him, but he won't do that. So,
well, I'm sad for that. I really am. I know what's happened, and I'm sorry for that, Michael.
Yeah, well, it's all right. And he's still doing his thing, and I'm doing mine, so I'm not going to sweat it. Right. But what, Michael, to get back to what I was saying, what really made it real for me in 2011 is I was doing the shows, I was really getting to the UFO thing, and I had a roundtable discussion. It was 4 people, and you remember Ed Grimsley. He's passed on now, and a friend of his named William, Bill, he was supposed to be a guest as well. Well, on that show that evening, we were going to have a discussion, about extraterrestrial UFOs, orbs, everything. And William was supposed to be calling in, and the show's live, and I kept trying to call him in, but every time I called him, it was just dead. There was no busy signal. There was nothing. It was just a dead line. So I was texting Ed. I said, Ed, is this a joke? Is he playing a game or something? I mean, I can't get him on the show. So Ed says, look, let me call him directly and see what's going on. Ed tried to call him, and he got the same thing, dead line, blocked. So I'm thinking, okay, these two are playing a joke on me. So come to find out that William had a fiancée at the time. Now they're married. But Bill's fiancée, Alma, was a channeler, okay? Mm-hmm. So what happens is she is told by our friends upstairs, she is told to call into the show, okay, and explain why, Bill is being blocked and can't come onto the show. So she calls in now. She's extremely psychic and an incredible channeler, okay? This is an absolute, and I'll be able to go into that a little further. She calls in, tells us, okay, Bill can't call in. He's being blocked because of dark forces, dark entities that do not want him to speak on the air. So now you got to understand my position where I was. This was all new to me. I was only 1 year into my broadcast, and I'm saying, yeah, okay, sure, fine, channelers being blocked. I didn't believe any of it, Michael. But I'm on the radio, and I'm thinking, let's let it move forward and see where it goes. So Bill isn't on the show the whole night. Finished the show. Then, finally, he's able to call me. He calls me. He says, look, this is what happened. I was blocked. I'm telling you, man, I was blocked. I didn't really know what to think. I thought it was I didn't know what to make of it, Michael. Okay? Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
Mm-hmm.
So what I ended up doing is setting up a show just with William and Alma to come on and explain what happened with that whole deal, okay? But then you have to understand that I didn't know Alma was a channeler. She was just being told. It was information that she was telling me, but I didn't know she was a channel, okay? So they tell me the whole story, and I said, okay, fine, let's do this. Let's set up a show, you and William. So we set up a show for, I think it was the following month. We set up the show, and Alma and William come on and talk about how the whole thing happened, how he was blocked, and Alma, all of a sudden, she goes into an altered state, into a channel. And we have an ET entity, ET, and this is extraterrestrial because, of course, their psychic abilities are extraordinary, and they can they can project their thoughts directly into our physical beings, and express that information that they want to get out. So an ET by the name of Econ, okay, Econ. Now get this, and I know it's going to be really tough for a lot of people to get this, okay, but Econ is the equivalence of, let's say, a 14-year-old child. But this 14-year-old child is 300 years old and about 15 feet tall. Okay?
Oh, damn.
So, yeah. So now I'm getting this information, and her voice had completely changed as this channel, Econ, comes through and starts explaining about what has happened, why things have happened, and here's the big thing. They had been waiting. Get this, Michael. This is the part that really blew me away, man.
All right.
They had been waiting for me to start a radio show long before I knew I was ever going to start a radio show. Now, that was shocking enough to me. And granted, I still didn't believe a damn word of it, okay?
All right.
Yeah.
And in a minute, we're going to have to invite these guys on, or they're going to wind up leaving us.
Well, yeah, no, invite them on. Invite them on. I just want to finish the rest of the rest of this, so you know where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Invite Jason and Peter on.
They're here. They can speak whenever. So, hey, Peter.
The lines are open.
Yes. Hello, Dr.
I'm
Rand.
listening. Robert, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm just listening to what you're saying here, and it's most fascinating. And I think of my own situation, and which happened at the age of 18, like you were. When we got to the cosmos, that was fantastic. But what got me started down this interesting path was Eric von Däniken back in the 70s. And
sure.
This was a situation where I was already seeing future events now for several years, and then Eric came out with his book on the Chariots
of Fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
Chariots of the Gods. I'm sorry, not Chariots of Fire.
That's a running movie.
Right.
But which is absolutely wild, because that's how my whole UFO experience started. Which a gold chariot landed in my backyard,
right,
with somebody at the helm controlling it, and this. We're not here to talk about my experience anyway, but it's interesting. There's this constant theme through people that are waking up, and once we start to comprehend it and understand where this is going, it's a lot easier to get a handle on. There's so many people. There's so many people that can channel so much information, but you got to be careful where that information is coming from.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with you, Peter. And this is why I was alluding to, because I thought it was a bunch of nonsense. Okay, even as Econ was coming through. Now, in the process of that information coming through, she had told me on air, that we had multiple life experiences together. Okay, this is still going on. This is the first show telling me we have multiple life experiences going on, and I was blown away at this point. I still didn't believe it, but I was blown away. And we're going towards the end of the show now. We go through the whole spiel of everything and who they are and where they're coming from. And this is the weird thing, Peter. As I'm talking, I start to get this funny feeling in my stomach. All you guys know what it's like to feel in love, to fall in love for the first time.
I know what it's like to get your heart broke, too. Yes.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Michael. Well, you get those butterflies in your stomach when you meet that special person in your life, and all of a sudden this started happening to me as I'm talking to her through Alma, and I become really flush, and I don't know what the hell is going on.
Ooh.
And all of a sudden I say, look, I'm glowing. I feel all this love, and I said to her, I said, look, when all these events take place and all the changes happen, I said to her, and it is a her, by the way. It's a her. And I said to her, I said,
I've heard that story before.
right. And I said
Yeah,
to her,
and somebody called me looking for help, seriously, because what he thought was a her wasn't a her.
yeah, no,
Dealing with something that's a shapeshifter.
Good point, Peter. But no, it's definitely a her. They definitely have, a separation of species in this class that I'm talking about. But what all these feelings were emerging, and I said, like the last 5 minutes of the show, I said, you know what? I can't wait till all this stuff happens. So when you guys come down, and I can, put my arms around you, give you a great big hug, and tell you how much I love you. And she says, well, you will. And I said, really? She says, yes, it's going to happen. And then she says, my brother, my love, she says, have you ever seen our ships? Well, I said, I've seen lots of them on videos, on YouTube and on the internet, but I said, I've never personally seen one. She says, would you like to? I said, I would absolutely love to. She says, okay, you will. So the show ends, right? And I'm just kind of boggled in the mind. I walk out of my studio, walk in the house, and, I'm with my parents. They're elderly, so I'm taking care of both of them. And my mother always listens to my show. God bless her. What a devoted, what a devoted listener. And I said, Mom, what did you think about all this? She goes, you know what? That was amazing. She goes, I'm not sure what to think, but it was amazing. And now this is in December. And it was really cold that year. It was probably in the, mid-20s, and that's pretty cold for Phoenix. So when the air's real cold, you can't really smell any fragrances. Right now, I just walked out of the studio, went to the house, smelled nothing, turned around, and I said, I just need to step outside and get a fresh fresh air, excuse me. And it was like 2 seconds. I opened the door, and as soon as I walk out, I was hit with a wall of the most powerful fragrance you could ever imagine. It was like a mixture of roses and sugar that was so powerful it almost knocked me on my butt. And my eyes got, as big as bowling balls. And I was like, what the heck is this? And I start walking around in this. And I'm going, oh my God, this is incredible. Well, I opened the door and I said, Ma, you got to come out here. You got to smell this. She goes, what? What's going on? I said, just come out here. And she walks out, and she's like, oh, my Lord, what the hell is this? So we're both walking around with our jaw on the floor with this incredible fragrance, at about midnight. And I'm walking around in a circle trying to figure out what the hell this is. And as I turn around, I look over the roof line of the house, and there is this craft. And, Michael, I'm telling you, it was incredible. It was long, thin, rectangular craft. Now, it's dark, so I can't see the whole thing, but all I can see is the light. So here's this rectangular, thin light with this, the only way I can describe it is a sine wave going through the center of this white light, but it's a rainbow sine wave flowing through the center of this craft. And I was floored.
A craft with a rainbow? You might have been a craft of the rainbow. I was going to say it could explain all the probing.
I definitely had no probing. That was incredible, man. I was just shocked, man. I was blown away. I didn't know what to say. My jaw was on the floor, and immediately I called Alma and I told her, and I said, "Hey, look, this is what happened." And she's like, "Oh gosh." She says, when I do channelings and you have a contact, usually they don't appear to that person for about a month or two. She said, they appear to you tonight. I said, this is very, very important. And so all of a sudden I'm thrown into this, volcano of information and ideas and ET experience. I was just totally blown away. And then they said, okay, look, Alma Williams said, look, I talked to them. You need to explain all this on the next show. And I go, okay, fine. I'll explain it to them. And Alma went into a channel again the next time this happened, and I went through the whole explanation. I went through detail for detail, and of course it's a little vague, foggy now because it's been a long time, but the bottom line was, after I went through the whole spiel, she's, Econ channel, through Alma says, well, that was a fabulous and very explicit explanation that you gave, but why did you tell them that you were on board our craft? And then I really lost it. I said, well, what do you mean I was aboard in your craft?
Uh-oh.
I never left the ground. I was here the whole time. She says, no, 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 no. She says, you were on board our craft for 1 minute of your time. We took you and your mother both when you were outside on our craft to meet us. The mic went dead, Michael, for about a minute because I just didn't know what the hell to say at that point.
Isn't that'd be
Do you have a memory implant of this? Do you have any
I do
memory
not.
whatsoever?
Michael, excuse me, Peter, I do not. I do not have a memory of this. And here's the thing.
I'm analyzing this.
E.T.
Yeah,
is spiking drinks.
Huh?
I say E.T. is spiking drinks. He's
Right.
taking you without you knowing it, But go ahead.
Yeah, Michael, I wish that were the case, but the problem was that just to jump forward here, because I know I'm taking a lot of time, and all three of us need to get involved in this conversation. But the point is, well, I'll make it real short. The next time this event happened, and this was verified by many people, is when I still had my business. I hadn't gone out of business yet. I had my partner in the office, and I was getting ready to leave the office. It was 4:45, okay? And this is verified by many people. I left my office at 4:45. It only takes me 20 minutes to get home from where my office was to my house. 20 minutes. When I arrived at the house, it was an hour and 15 minutes later, and I had no explanation for it. And everybody was questioning me, where were you? What the hell happened to you? And they came up with all kinds of explanations. I said, no, I left 15, 20 minutes ago. And here's the craziest part. When I was on the freeway driving home, this is bizarre. I don't know how to explain it, but an overwhelming exhaustion came over me. It was instant. Like, I'm wide awake, I'm driving, and all of a sudden, I'm driving, and I'm just so tired, I can barely keep my eyes open. And I'm telling you guys, when I got home, I don't know how the hell I made it because I was so tired. I could barely keep my eyes open. When I walked in the house, and they're like, where the hell have you been? I said, what do you mean? 20 minutes. No, it's 6 o'clock. My jaw was open. I said, I can't talk about this right now. I can't tell you anything about this. I need to go lay down. And I went and laid down, and I slept for 3 hours solid instantly. I got up, and we had the same discussion. Nobody believed me. I called my partner. I said, Ken, when did I leave the office? He says, you left at 4:45. I left 10 minutes after you. They all heard it. It was on a speakerphone. And they were all looking at me going, okay, so what the hell happened? And nobody was still believing me until I had the next show. Well, prior to that, myself and Bob Dean, we went to L.A. and saw Alma and William because I needed an explanation. I need to know what the hell happened to me.
So what did happen to you? Do you know? I mean, what did they do to you?
Well, it's not what they did to me. They didn't do anything to me because I explained earlier that I had multiple lifetimes with Econ. I'm here, as everybody else is here on this planet, for a purpose, to help awaken the people to understand what the heck is going on. I've done my part. Michael, you're definitely doing your part. Everybody involved in this movement of the truth movement, awakening, is doing exactly the same thing. They told me, okay, and I asked one of my guests when this was going on. I was thinking about having a regression of what happened, but this is what they told me. They said, my brother, first of all, you were with us. Get this, guys. I was with them for 14 and a half weeks in that hour and 15 minutes that I was missing. I was with them 14 and a half weeks. And my mind exploded because that's when I had gone to California to find out, where I'd been, what I'd done, who did I meet, where did we go, what galaxy we go to, what did we explore. I wanted to know everything. And you know what the answer that I got was? And it really, really upset me. They said, it's not time for you to know now. And I really, really got mad. I really got upset. I said, what do you mean it's not time for me to know now? And they said, listen, if we were allow you to remember everything that you experienced with us in that time you were gone, do you think you'd really want to finish living the rest of your life on this planet?
It was that bad?
Say that again,
I
Mike?
say it was that bad?
It was that bad.
Well, that's what they told you.
Right, that's what they told me, and it's not the
Yeah.
factor of bad or good. It's I could experience any number of things, but they wouldn't allow me to remember. But what they did say at the end of it, it says, when it's time for you to remember, you will remember. Now, I spoke to several regressionists who had been on my show at the time, and they said, look, if they told you that, they told me directly. They said, Robert, if that's what they said, let it be and let it happen naturally. And also, my friend Bob Dean,
that's a ticking time bomb.
well, and it could be.
It is.
But
Trust me.
but Peter, you got to remember this. You know who Bob Dean is, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Bob Dean went through that exact type of regression through his contacts, and you know what happened to him? He went into a massive depression for 5 years. He didn't want to speak to anybody. He didn't want to deal with anybody after they lifted the little teapot lid off his head.
Oh yeah, I can understand that.
He remembered so many things from past lives, and with the contacts that he had, it put him in a deep depression. And he told me directly, he says, Robert, be careful, because I went through this. And he says, this could spin you in a deep depression. And I thought about it. I mean, guys, I thought about this for 6 months. And I said, okay, fine. I'll just let it come when it comes. But here's the part of Planet X that I wanted to bring into this. They spoke about this on my show. They said that they showed me 3 screens when I was there, okay? 3 different screens.
I'm listening.
Here's us now. This is our Earth now. This is what it may be, and this is what it may be. In other words, they're saying we are the ones who make the choice of where things are going to go. In other words, history is written as we move forward in time and how things change. Now, I haven't seen a lot of things to tell me that, we've averted this situation. I think we are going to go through a very, tumultuous time. I think we are going to face some very devastating times. I think, and what, let me put it this way.
Let me interrupt you for a second here, because this is a lot of what I've been talking about over the past year, and it's one of the major reasons for the name change on Letters to Earth, and it's totally congruent. The message hasn't changed, but it's Letters to Earth, the future is yours. And it's because of exactly what you're saying here as to what our future is. You see, it all comes down to how we choose. So there's 2 different timelines. One of them is what we identified as the catastrophic timeline. This is when I was doing a considerable amount of work with Alfred Leonard Weber 5-6 years ago. The other one is the positive timeline, and there's a divergence. But it's us that choose which path we go down. This is when we go back in the scriptures, what Jesus said, broad and spacious is the road to destruction, but narrow is the gate, is the path to everlasting life. So, and he says, many searching for it will not find it. And that is, it's that there is a duality in the future, but the duality lies within us.
Well, Peter, just let me throw a little caveat on there, that the future exists simultaneously because everything exists in a duality, and it's instantaneous. Because you have to remember, in my thought process of what I've been talking about, the past, present, and future exist simultaneously.
Yes.
It all exists concurrently. There is no future. There is no past. It is only in the timeline that we exist. Now, to further that statement, okay, this is the physical universe that we are existing in this 3D plane as we conceive it. But there are multi-planes. In other words, there are planes upon planes upon planes upon planes of existence. Hence, the transdimensional beings that exist in this.
And this is exactly what I've been saying from the beginning and what I wrote in Letters to Earth. We actually live, based on string theory, M theory, and superstring theory. String theory says that in order for us to exist, there needs to be 7 other spatial planes. The fact is, we don't live in dimensions 1, 2, and 3. We live in dimensions 8, 9, and 10. The other dimensions, according to how the mathematics works out, existed before our physical universe existed, and it can exist just fine without our physical universe. However, our physical universe totally depends on those other 7 spatial planes being there. If they're not there, We are not here. String theory gets into really the origin of energy, and explains it mathematically. M theory goes into membrane theory on how universes are created, or how dimensions are created. Well, actually universes. And then you go into superstring theory, which says, well, look, there could be an endless amount of variables, and there could be an endless amount of dimensions. We just don't know. And when we go back to what is now fractal science, which used to be fractal technology, that's exactly what that's exactly the truth.
And guys, here's my only problem with the timeline thing is that some of these guys out there, I'll mention none of their names, will use that as an excuse. Well, oh no, well, what I told you was going to happen in the future actually happened. It's just we're lucky it didn't happen on this timeline. And it's like, that kind of bothers me.
Well, it bothers me too, Michael, because I don't fall into that belief system. And the reason I say this is that we haven't averted the situation.
Exactly.
Is this because all these people are capturing these extra solar bodies, which I think is part of our binary system that we are all seeing now. Michael, I sent you that video from Brazil of the two suns coming up. Okay, you have it. I sent it to you.
I see it.
So when we're looking at this, we got to say to ourselves, okay, what are we facing? Is this a natural cycle of this solar system being a binary system, which most solar systems are binary and trinary, and very rarely is there a single sun with its satellites that orbit around it?
And
we've been lied to this whole time, Michael.
But listen, here's what I tell people when they do send me something like, they send me a picture and say, look, I took this yesterday. I usually put them on an assignment and tell them I want you for the next week to take a picture, take it at different times, sun's coming up, and keep a record of it for the week and then share it with me. And because if that happens, then you should, and it's there, you should be able to duplicate it. And that's
right, and that's the thing, Michael, that I was able to duplicate it the year before. I just never sent it to anybody because I was basically following this cam off somebody else's work. Say, hey, you might want to go to this cam, guys, and look at this and this was in 2014, which we saw the second sun rise. And people are trying to say, well, it's a camera anomaly or it's it's a flare. No. There was no flare because flares would come up at the same time all the time when the sun comes up. You would see it instantly. Why does this object only come up between late March, early April, and then September, and then get larger the following year? So I watched it from 2014 to 2015 to 2016, and that's what I sent you, 2016, Michael. And now I'm looking at 2017, and I think, like I had said to you the last time the three of us spoke, Peter and Jason, I said, I think this may be the year, and I had also mentioned the fact that my friend Bob Dean, who's deep inside of the Good Old Boys Network, said, and he was doing that interview here at my house when he said that. He said, September, bank on it, 2017, it's coming. And sure enough, where are we? Look at the earth changes. Look at the devastation. I mean, I can name event after event after event that's been taking place, whether it's from the sea with all the sea life washing ashore because their magnetic their magnetic fields have been altered, are washing up ashores all over the place, dead fish everywhere, birds falling out of the skies. And what about all the animal attacks that have been taking place? I mean, this is getting crazy.
Explain how the Schumann resonance goes from 7.83 hertz into the beta range of 13 to 35, which is when our brains are vibrating between 13 and 35 hertz. That's beta state. That's where fight and flight is. And
Thank
so,
you, Peter.
Yeah, well, we've talked about. Well, I've been talking about this for quite some time, but the Schumann resonance now vibrating between 13 and 35 hertz is something that's just recently come about.
It's off the charts, Peter. It's off the charts. It's never been experienced.
When it's been as high as 65 hertz, I saw in one of the readouts. This was several months ago, and I proposed at that time that may have been caused by CERN, because they were doing work at the Hadron Collider, and that's a whole nother situation in itself. Boy, there's a show right there, in Revelation chapter 9. But regardless, from what I understand on Planet X, and I will get back to this dual timeline that we're on because that's exactly it. It's us
And,
who decide what our future is going to be,
and
and
Robert,
all of this information is what we need to take into consideration. Yeah, Michael.
I was just wanting to quick go, Robert. I don't know if you're able to do it right now, but any chance you could send that to me again because I'm going and looking, and now it's not in the file I put it in. Because I want to look at it again. It's been a little while. I want to take a look at it so I could comment more on it. But if you could send it. I got my email open. But go ahead, Peter.
Michael, I'll send it to you right now.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Now,
No problem.
Let me just continue on the Schumann resonance thing. Now, or on Planet X, actually, we know that now the Earth is vibrating in the beta state. That's why everybody's most people's sleep patterns seem to be disturbed one way or the other. But from what I understand, and I don't know how anybody knows exactly where it is, but from what I understand, it's supposed to be like passing over the top of us and going underneath us, or vice versa. But it's in an elliptical orbit. It's not actually going around with the patterns. It's coming over the top and going out the
What's
bottom,
that?
something like that.
Planet X?
Planet X, yeah.
No, I understand that. I've heard all kinds of things just like you guys, but I was told that it's actually going to be well outside of us, but it's going to have enough pull on everything around us that's how it's going to see us. Now I don't know, but
You see,
and Michael,
that's
Michael,
the one
that's
thing.
exactly right.
As it comes back around, is when I'm gonna be more concerned about. It's on
Right,
an
because
inbound
it's going to
trajectory
cause
now.
Peter, it's going to cause a 25 to 26 degree shift. But here's the thing.
I would worry more about the crap that comes with it. But go ahead.
I'm banking on
Well,
that.
that's exactly.
That's why
That's
to me,
exactly.
I figured it's going to become
Michael,
subtropical.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. The thing I was going to say, and I think Peter, you're absolutely right in what you said. I think it's not going to be as violent as everybody thinks because it varies on how it. The closest planet, which we all are saying is Nibiru Planet X, will come close enough to create that magnetic pull to actually flip us at 180 degrees. And my personal belief is it's never actually really done that. What it has done throughout the eons of time that it's been here and it's created that has always left life on the planet. So it's never been that drastic. What I think it usually does is probably create a shift of 25 to 26 to maybe 30, 35 degrees shift. And that's bad enough. I mean, think about this. Every coastal
Slosh.
city that exists will be washed away. But there's proof of that. We've already had the discoveries. It's been shown. The proof exists.
Hey, Dr. Rand, are you there?
I'm here, buddy. I'm just interesting. I'm listening very interestingly.
Okay, I was just going to say, I don't know. You've been so quiet there. I'm sorry. It's not that I didn't forget about you. Hello, Dr. Rand.
Oh, no. I'm just enjoying these different perspectives.
Well, great. Well,
Yeah, you see, we see all of this going on right now, and so this is where we are gaining accurate knowledge. Because what we're talking about here, I mean, we're talking about aliens, Planet X, the future of planet Earth. It could be extremely terrifying if you don't know what goes on beyond that. People are thinking, "Oh, this is the end of Earth." No.
No, never is.
Exactly what you said. But the biggest problem that we face, and the experts will agree with this. As a matter of fact, Matthew Stein, great person. I've interviewed him a couple of times not too long ago. Wrote the book When Technology Fails. Matthew Stein is a graduate of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He's got a degree in engineering, and he wrote a book on when this technology is going to fail.
I just had him on the other night.
Well, then he told you the number one problem that we're facing in the future is the electric grid going
The grid,
down.
yeah, that's the whole nut in a nutshell.
Right, and that also relates to exactly what we're talking about because you can basically understand that what Ed Dames has been talking about for years and years and years. He says, this extrasolar thing is going to come down and basically wash us down with this solar radiation, which is going to put down the power grid, and a whole hell of a lot of people aren't going to be left. Why? Because if you don't have fresh water, if you don't have power, because back in the late 1800s. Everybody knew how to live off the land. Guess what? That doesn't happen anymore. It's just farmers. If you happen to be a farmer, you're going to do just fine. But you know what? If you live in the inner city, you're not going to do so well. You're not going to fare so well when this whole thing comes down.
Well, here's
And
my
this
thing.
is where the prophecies come right into play out. I mean, this is one of the things that Jesus spoke about, is when it was time to leave the city. And I can go back and give you the historical account, but you are 100%
Exactly, Peter. I heard you
correct.
talk about this the other night. Just to say, Michael, I just sent that off to you. You should have it.
Oh, okay, yeah. As a matter of fact, I do. And guys, real quick, I'll just add my 2 cents. And like I said before, Planet X comes by, causes all this havoc and damage and destruction. And really, you got to be lucky if you're in a place you're not affected should this happen, right? So for me, I'm going to let the young people worry about surviving. And if something like that comes, I hope I'm right in its freaking path. That's all I can say. But
You sound like you sound like the old. The old.
Gonna stand on the beach and watch you coming.
oh yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh Lord, Michael.
I'll be that guy that radio.
It's not as bad as you think it's going to be.
Well, it's gonna be horrific for people that are in densely populated areas.
If I can't have pizza, it's getting pretty bad.
Michael, I thought about that, and I thought, living off the grid, dang, it's going to be a pain in the butt to make a pepperoni mushroom pizza. I got to grow the pig, I got to get the seasonings. It's going to take me a year for the pepperoni just to do that. I can handle the tomatoes and the mushrooms, and we can grow the flour, but the dang pepperoni, come on, we're talking about a pig and then aging of the meat.
I'm going to make a deal with the neighbor. You collect the water, I'll save the pizzas.
Well, Jason, you've been so quiet, and I loved interviewing you in the past. By the way, I hope you remember who I am. But you've been quiet. You've been quiet in the corner over there.
Well, I'm most interested in your personal account as being a contactee. And
yeah, we could make a whole show out of that. But go ahead, Doctor. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. And my respect for Peter, of course, has developed over the past year. And Michael, thank you for, of course, putting the show on for us tonight. And more importantly, the reason I've been kind of silent is that you two guys have given me great pause tonight. I must tell you. I had prepared some material for tonight, and I thought that it would be a real good idea for you guys to set the stage, which you did beautifully. So if I could interject just a few thoughts here, okay?
Sure.
The first point that you guys brought up, which of course touches me deeply because I've been a contactee since I was a very, very small child, and then of course having that experience on board the craft at age 11 for almost 4 hours, which by the way I'm writing in my memoir. There was a very prominent author in the 70s. His name was Gordon Creighton, and he wrote a book called The Humanoids. And it was one of the books that I kind of, ground my teeth on. And I want to read, if it's okay, I want to read an excerpt from his book, which deals with the subject that we're talking about, which is the contactee phenomena. I'm going to be quoting. For some years past, it has been increasingly obvious that the very kernel of our problem is the so-called, quote, contactee report, unquote. It's so incredible, so baffling, that the instinctive reaction of some folks first hearing about it has been to fight shy of it altogether. But we cannot ignore it because it is virtually all the material we have to work with. It is the contactee story, and not the flying saucer story or the UFO report, that we must first endeavor to understand. If and when we have grasped what these tales of landings and of contacts with Earthian entities mean, we may perhaps be on the road to understanding some of the larger aspects of the problem of becoming a contactee. Now, Robert, let me address you. Let me address you directly here. You should consider yourself very, very lucky, and especially gifted in that you may, in fact, have been taken aboard a craft, which is not unusual for contactees. So the advice that was given to you, remember when you were asking the question of, you wanted to know this and you wanted to know that?
Absolutely. Jason, I just need to say this. I consider myself extremely lucky in that aspect. It's not that it was something that was, out of my realm, and I always wanted something like this, but it's like, Think about this for a second. It's like you're nominated for a Grammy Award, okay? And you guys take this with a grain of salt, okay? You're nominated for a Grammy Award and find out that it's taken away from you because, well, we only put you up there because we couldn't find an artist who was slightly better than you, so we just threw you in there, kind of thing. You are given the golden key to, Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, only to find out that all its secrets will never be revealed to you. That's what it kind of felt like, okay, at that very moment. But don't misconstrue what I said. I feel myself very special and lucky to have experienced that.
Now, if I might interject here just for a second, because, Doctor, I know that we've talked about your alien contact from early on and the different craft that were involved in what you've seen in your experience. And Robert, you've mentioned, extraterrestrial craft or interdimensionals in yours as well. I was never taken to any craft. I was taken underground, which is quite interesting because not too many people are taken underground. I only know of a couple of other people that this has actually happened to. One contacted me within 24 hours after I first told my alien story, which I never talked about. I wasn't allowed to talk about seeing the future. I had alien contact. You really thought I was going to start talking about that now? So I kept that hidden for years. But it ended. It wasn't just one trip either. It was 4 or 5. And it's shortly after my 18th birthday. And I believe it was on the last contact, or actually, I can't say exactly the last contact, was that I was let know. They gave me a final warning after they told me they were going to kill me. But I was in their presence when they let it be known that they assigned somebody to kill me. And I was in shock.
Peter, if I may interject something here, it sounds like what you experienced is a lot of the ET. Well, okay. Let me back that up. It sounds like what you experienced is part of the covert deep state scenario, which are deep state entities, military or whatnot, and ETs being probably the Greys. Which species? I have no clue, Peter. But they have been worked, and this is information that's been put out forward by a lot of people, that you were manipulated and mind controlled in some kind of way. Now, I'm not saying that actually happened to you, Peter, but that's the kind of scenario that I'm kind of hearing from you.
My thought was that the one thing that made total sense was when Karen Udis brought up Homo capensis. I thought, oh my goodness, the cheese has slid off this woman's cracker. But then I started to research Homo capensis and who they were supposed to be, and I'm like, wait a minute. The people who I made contact with were very human-looking people, and everybody had to wear monk's robe, well, what appeared kind of like what would look like a monk's robe, and everybody had their hoods up, so you couldn't see the extent of their heads. And Homo capensis is supposed to be subterranean, so I don't know. All I can tell you is that they're also supposed to be ruling those who rule the planet. And if that's the case, that would explain a 500-year-old connection back to when the church turned around and condemned my family and started to execute us systematically for 300 years. So there's a long connection here.
Let me ask all three of you. I want to hear from Jason and Michael and yourself, Peter. What do you think the connection with this, all of a sudden, the information coming out of Antarctica would relate to? Because I think it's deep-seated, very ancient, and I think it may help change the process of the technology that we have been following, which is a controlled construct by the powers that be to keep us enslaved in their system of manipulation and monetary manipulation in order to continue their controlled evolution of our species. I'd like to see what you think. And Michael, I want to see what you think of that video as well, by the way.
Can I address this first, if you don't mind, because this may have a direct connection back to Nelson Mandela's third death of December 5th, 2013.
The Mandela effect, huh?
Well, not so much the Mandela effect, but every once in a while somebody throws you a bone. And it's like a piece of information which makes so much sense, but you can't verify it. You can't find the end result of it. And I got this guy came on joined me on Facebook, and he was sending me link after link after link after link, and it was like, my goodness, what's he do? Spend all day sending me links? And seriously. And you know, he all of a sudden he made a comment on something about Nelson Mandela's funeral, and so wait a minute, okay, I got to look at this closer. And he made the comment, you know, so I engaged him in it. And he wrote me back, and he said, "Well, yeah, you did know that there was a black cube tent set up behind behind the arena where they were holding the funeral at, and it's alleged that the entity Marduk was there signing treaties with all of the world's representatives that went to Mandela's funeral." The only, even the Vatican, he said, signed the treaty. The only country that did not sign the treaty, it was Israel. Israel would not sign the treaty with Marduk, interestingly enough. Who's Marduk? Marduk is the chief of the Babylonian gods. He is the Babylonian name for the Sumerian god Anu. Anu is the god of the flat-domed earth.
Right. And I was trying to bring your video up. That's what I've been trying to do, like the last 10 minutes, I think. Oh, no. I've seen the video.
I've been watching, Michael. I've been watching.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it on screen here for everyone else to see, though. And for some reason, the stupid thing on my end isn't working. So I just sent a message to Ira, so maybe we'll be able to show it to everyone. So that's what I've been doing, everyone. Not having conversations with people while they're talking. I'm listening. But
let me jump in here.
Well, Doctor, if I might interject before, and I'll give you the floor in just a second. What happened and we just look at what's going on during the Mandela ritual funeral. You have to remember that there was a crazy man that was translating in a language that no person knowing sign language on the face of the planet understood, and he was standing next to every dignitary down there, including Obama. And he claimed that he was watching angels flying around in the arena as he was translating. Now, it's just a short hop from South Africa down to Antarctica, and we've got a lot of dignitaries that have gone to Antarctica. And if we look at the monuments that are around the world, both in Mesoamerica and in Africa, but primarily Egypt, where we've got the Great Pyramids, it would be ludicrous to believe that there wasn't more of the same under the ice in Antarctica. So if you look at the movie, what is it, AVP, Alien versus Predator? Where they
I watched that many times, Peter.
Yeah.
all right, guys, listen, I don't have bios for everybody. So I want to start with Robert because he is the newest of the clan here. Robert, I want to welcome you first. And I thought what I would do is let you give a little bit on your background. What got you interested in Planet X? And then we'll get the other two guys in here with us.
Well, Michael, thank you for inviting me onto your show. I want to say you have a wonderful show. I've been listening to you for a while. Yeah, I do chime in. You have such great guests. I just can't help myself to want to call in and ask all kinds of questions. And I know you've been having a lot of problems with the phone lines, and I know you're getting that taken care of. But
the reason I do that, we are so close to having that taken care of. I have the new phone here. I have the device to hook the phone up to the system. Now all I've got to do is I've got to get out tomorrow and I've got to go buy a couple new wires that I need, and then we should be golden. But yeah, go ahead.
That's wonderful. And let me say to you, you are the boss man, as little Manny says. I think that's terrific. I love it.
Yeah, Manny's awesome. I mean, 2 years old. I mean, so how long has he been listening? He not longer than 2 years, right? So
no. Oh, yeah, exactly, right. I've been listening just a little longer, but I think Manny's got it on me, man, because he's a bright little kid. I mean, think about this: the parents are allowing the little child to listen to truth.
Yeah.
Michael, I gotta tell you this, man. I love that commercial you run just before you come back on air. Your promotional aspect for your show. I mean, you're just laying it into these moronic libtards. I'm sorry, but that's what they are. They have been so brainwashed they don't have any clue or conception or they're part of the system. I don't know, Michael, but it's just beyond belief. The ignorance of these people is beyond me, man.
I know.
Really, really, really is.
I know, and you know what? I am so thankful to God that I have lived to see the day when a real president stands up and just slaps the media around like the liars that they are. Wow. I mean, it's like I died one day. I got to pinch myself every now and then. It's amazing.
I'm with you. I'm
Oh.
with you. I think it was today Trump called CNN the fake news once
No,
again.
well, no, he
That's
renamed them now.
ripped into 'em.
Now they're the very, very fake news.
It's a double fake.
Yeah, I don't know how much lower they could go. They're just about flea shit now.
Yeah. They're
Sorry, Manny.
finished in my eyes. People like yourself and my former self, you are the real media. Okay, this is what's the big transition is, and the dinosaur media they haven't gotten it yet. The blood is running out of their head, and it just hasn't finished trickling down.
Well, no, you know what?
They're getting ready to keel over, Michael.
You know what they are? They're like the kid. We've all seen them, right? One of these teenagers, they get caught in their mother's pocketbook, and even though their hand is in there and they've got the money in their hand, they're still in denial. No, I wasn't stealing
No,
it.
I didn't
Really,
do it. It wasn't me.
I wasn't going to steal it. No, I mean, this is what the media is. They're hoping you'll go, oh, okay, and just play stupid like we have for so long. But fantastic,
Yeah.
and so Robert, yeah, what got you interested in Planet X? We've got Dr. Rand is on the line and Peter Kling's on the line, and they'll be in here in just a minute with us. So I want to give you a chance to lay out your story. I mean, what drove you down the road of Planet X? A lot of people interested, but then there's some who just think it's all nonsense.
And I understand that as well, Michael. And I being in the position you were about almost 4 years ago, being a talk show host, I know how it is to be in that position. But what really changed for me is during my show when I first started. It was late 2010, early 2011. I, like everybody else, was trying to figure out what was going on, looking into 9/11 and free energy sources, and I just basically threw myself all in. And I was a business owner, Michael, in 2006, with my partner, and I really wasn't paying attention to anything. I was just trying to build a business. I was in the restaurant equipment business, and I was doing really well. And things were flourishing. In 2008, everything fell apart, and that's when I really started doing investigating and what was going on. I wasn't aware of what was happening. And just to say this, that I always believed in extraterrestrials. Okay, and even since I was a kid, I was fascinated with any documentary on space. I mean, hell, I watched the Carl Sagan. The 10 parts or 11-part series, The Cosmos. I must have watched that 10, 20 times as a kid, Michael. So I was completely fascinated with it. But when everything started turning around for me is when the economy started collapsing, I started investigating what was going on, what was happening. And it got to the point where I realized that 9/11 was a complete fraud. And I think that was probably a big awakening point for many, many people, Michael. And of course, I was thrown into the mix with that. Losing everything, losing my business, losing my house. I mean, I lost it all. I was just building at that point. I 2 years, Michael, 2.5 years. I had already built a $500,000 a year business, all gone, taken away in an instant.
So you were in that point of your life where you looked up and says, "Good, I hope Planet X is coming."
You know what? In a sense, I kind of felt that way about a couple of years ago. Yeah. I really did. But that was the anger of it all. And then I pushed that anger aside, and then I started really, really investigating, actually 2.5, 3 years ago. And I was doing a little investigating as I was doing the radio show, but the realization was, as people that have put all their own effort and research on the web, and it's all over the place. I mean, video after video, of course, Zachariah Sitchin, Dave Mead, so on and so forth, and I won't bring up Marshall Masters, I promise.
Thank you. He's the only one. I mean, I'd if he would get in the conversation with us, I'd be happy to have him, but he won't do that. So,
well, I'm sad for that. I really am. I know what's happened, and I'm sorry for that, Michael.
Yeah, well, it's all right. He's still doing his thing, and I'm doing mine, so I'm not going to sweat it.
Right.
But
what, Michael, to get back to what I'm saying, what really made it real for me in 2011 is I was doing the shows. I was really getting to the UFO thing, and I had a roundtable discussion. It was 4 people, and you remember Ed Grimsley. He's passed on now, and a friend of his named William, Bill, he was supposed to be a guest as well. Well, on that show that evening, we were going to have a discussion, about extraterrestrial UFOs, orbs, everything. And William was supposed to be calling in, and the show's live, and I kept trying to call him in. But every time I called him, it was just dead. There was no busy signal. There was nothing. It was just a dead line. So I was texting Ed. I said, Ed, is this a joke? Is he playing a game or something? I mean, I can't get him on the show. So Ed says, look, let me call him directly and see what's going on. Ed tried to call him, and he got the same